Today's guests are members from the band Ethereal Collapse. Hailing from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, Ethereal Collapse is an ardent group of musicians whose only goal is to spread the essence of true heavy metal. Formed under the name Deity in 2002, the group began as a cover band, playing some of northeastern Pennsylvania's most popular clubs and building credit as a professional outfit even before its members finished high school. In January of 2004, Deity changed its name to Ethereal Collapse, and the band took on a whole new attitude. Its goal was simple: to create and perform the heaviest, most melodic music possible. In April of that same year, Ethereal Collapse released its long-overdue first demo, Fallen Hope, which received rave reviews from many respected metal webzines. A number of high-profile gigs followed, including opening slots for national acts such as Mastodon, Origin, Exhumed, A Life Once Lost, and Dead to Fall. As a result, the band's popularity began to grow, and promoters from all over the tri-state area were offering to book them. Once the band knew it had a quality recording under its belt, the members decided to reach out to some record labels. After months of repeated efforts, the band received an offer from Inner Strength Records, who then signed the group to a one-album deal. Over the next several months, Ethereal Collapse recorded its first full-length album, Breaching the Citadel, a release on Inner Strength. Unfortunately, the group's inability to tour led strained relations with the label and differences amongst members. The added stress of recording an album was unsuitable for nationwide release, ultimately led to the band's dissolution. In August of 2006, Ethereal Collapse played its farewell show, opening for Metal Blade Records, recording artist Celador, and selling press copies of the recently completed album, Breaching the Citadel. Loyal fans gave the band a proper send-off, and to the best of everyone's knowledge, Ethereal Collapse has been laid to rest. After the breakup, the band members tried their luck with other musical projects, but soon began to feel a strange emptiness. The group reformed in July of 2007. Breaching the Citadel had received even better reviews than Fallen Hope, and the band once again found itself on the top of the metal underground. In 2008, the group released Categories, a concept EP that addressed a variety of philosophical subjects. With Categories, Ethereal Collapse proved that there was more to the metal genre than sheer brutality, and the usual critical praise followed. The album netted the group another batch of significant shows, allowing it to share the stage with bands such as Sidiakra, Ailstorm, Tyr, Macabre, and Dysrhythmia. Thank you all for coming on the show. Can you please introduce yourselves?
My name is Ryan. I play guitar and sing.
My name is Matt. I play drums.
My name is Nick. I play bass.
So, to start, what sparked your interest in writing and music?
I always thought that, music was sort of just like, the ultimate, medium of expression. It's kind of, ineffable, I guess, like the way that, it makes me feel and stuff like that. I grew up listening to hip-hop, actually. And then when I was about 14, I got, more into, rock music in general. And, believe it or not, before that, I never even really listened to the radio because, they weren't playing the rap tunes that, I wanted to hear, So, but, then I started, getting into rock music in general. I got into, Nirvana and stuff like that, and eventually, Metallica, and then, all the real obscure European heavy metal bands that, it influenced our writing and stuff. But, I don't know. There's just something about a good melody, and a good message that really just affects me personally, no other way like anything else could. So,
So that led you to become active and start a project of your own.
Yeah, eventually. When I had my first band when I was 15 years old. We were called Blind Ambition. We weren't that good, but we were playing cover tunes. We did some good songs and some really terrible songs. We did songs by Alien, Ant Farm, and Lit, but we also played some songs by Metallica and Slayer. And then eventually when Deity formed, we did all good stuff when it came to, the cover tunes. And then we actually started writing our own music.
So what prompted your interest in the band?
Actually, it was kind of funny. When I was younger, about 4th grade, we started, I had a friend of mine who said he was in the elementary band and wanted to play drums. And I said, all right, well, give it a shot. Well, I liked it, and over the years, I started with the high school doing jazz band, marching band, concert band, stuff like that. And eventually, just got with a bunch of metalheads and started playing music.
My main influence actually started with my brother. He would always listen to, the really early punk bands and such. I remember when Green Day first came out. We listened to that album over and over and over again. And from there, I just started getting into, the regular, I guess, rock bands at the time, Offspring, Nirvana, eventually Foo Fighters and such. And through high school, I really wanted to take up an instrument. I didn't quite know what, so started with guitar, and me and my one friend Kirk Space, we formed a band, and our main influence was actually Deity. We went to a lot of Ryan's shows, And I remember just watching them at some like honky-tonk outdoor playing area, and God, we were just fascinated with Ryan and Dave Klein and all that. And so I followed them throughout the years. Basically, got to know Ryan more when he was filming in Putrefied Flesh, and from there, he contacted me a little bit later, and here I am.
So you mentioned previous products that you have, Deity, and now as Ethereal Collapse. So as Ethereal Collapse, how has your music changed over time?
I mean, I guess it just sort of evolved from the American heavy metal to the European style of bands like In Flames and like Dark Tranquillity and stuff like that. I mean, I guess that's about it. Like apart from that, like Deity was also like a cover band. So then when we became Ethereal Collapse, we really started to focus on our own tunes and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I guess the music has evolved because like in the beginning it was like Metallica, Slayer, Testament, like all like the Bay Area bands and stuff like that. And then, like I said, discovered the Swedish/Scandinavian heavy metal scene, and that's what really started to chiefly influence the musical style. So
now with the songwriting and recording process, it's my understanding that you write all the lyrics, correct?
I mean, for the most part. I mean, if rarely, I actually don't think we've ever collaborated on a song. I think it's always just been like one person writing the music and the lyrics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they brought it to the table.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So that process has seemed to work for us. I mean, maybe at some point we'll sort of collaborate on something, but you get set in your ways, and it's like if it's not broke, don't fix it, I guess.
So what goes into that process, and how does that usually work for you?
I mean, Tab it. Yeah, no. Computer programs, like Tab and Power Tab, stuff that like actually, lets you, that enables you to write the song out and like play it back and like actually hear it. It's a good alternative if you don't actually have recording equipment, which like I actually have a Pro Tools set up, so now maybe I can actually start doing like better demo versions of the songs. But just being able to, like, me personally, like, I have to like write a song and then hear it played back like 100 times before I know that, like, that's the arrangement that I want. So that's definitely helped. I remember in another interview, we mentioned something about Tabit, and I was like, yeah, for all the listeners out there who don't know, Tabit is the computer program that writes all of our songs,
Yes,
which is not actually true, but I mean, it does really help, just being able to hear it played back. I mean,
no, it gives a good foundation, and usually what I'll do is I'll take Ryan's scratch drum tracks and just take and make it my own after a while.
Yeah,
it helps a lot. It works a lot faster, and it's been doing good for us for years. So
I agreed. Yeah.
Well, that's one thing that's interesting about your band is that there's a seriousness with the music, but aside from that, and especially some of the videos you've done, there's a lot of humor involved with that. Yeah. And as you've said, all your songs are about dead horrors, right? So
dead horrors. Yeah.
Was there a serious video yet? You guys?
No. We've only
been.
done two. We've done two music videos for our song "As the Mighty Fall" and more recently our song "Discovering the Absolute," and both have been joke videos. Because we like to have a good time. The first video for "As the Mighty Fall" paid tribute to the black metal bands of Scandinavia. We had the corpse paint, and
that was a great time.
man, the day that we filmed that was so great. I was so embarrassed to have the corpse paint, and like we had to stop at Turkey Hill for gas, and I didn't want to go inside. I had what did I have my hood up?
Yeah, and
I was like,
and he wouldn't go in the store, wouldn't get out of the van. Nothing.
And the other one was inspired by Mobb Deep, is that correct?
Yeah, hip-hop group Mobb Deep. We basically reshot their video for the song Shook Ones Part 2. And that's, both of these videos are thanks to our friend Jeff Davis, who, like really set up like all the shots and like the storyboard, if you will, for if you could call it a storyboard for each of the videos. So, yeah, we're really pleased with the way that they turned out. But for the Mobb Deep video, we actually have two versions of it. We have the video by itself, and then we have a comparison with like picture-in-picture so you can see how well it matches up. And I gotta say, in some parts, it actually matches up exactly.
Yeah,
it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah, some of those hand movements are, spot on.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys did it, but...
Yeah, I watched the hand movements carefully, and I tried to study them to get them as accurate as possible. And some of them ended up looking like just robotic, but others actually matched up really well. And, I mean, one thing that I pride myself on is an eye for detail. So, I did my best to sort of match it up. But it was a nice way to pay tribute to, all the hip-hop groups that I really love, one of them at least, and, have a little bit of fun with it. So.
So now we're going to mainly talk about the new album today, The Precipice of Failure. So one of the songs from the album, In the Absence of Consequence, talks about the topic of morality.
Yeah.
So would you like to talk about that? That'd be something a lot of our listeners, I'm sure, are very interested in.
Sure. Well, whenever I introduce this song live, I always say this song is about whether people would behave morally in the absence of consequence. It's called In the Absence of Consequence. That's another joke that I like to do anyway. It's probably gotten kind of lame over the years, but basically say that the song is about, and then just insert the title, and then just restate the title. But
this is Architect. It's about architects.
An architect, yeah. So, but yeah, In the Absence of Consequence, that it actually is about whether or not people would behave morally, in the absence of consequence, like whether or not, if there's any way for, like, in a state of nature or whatever, like, no government, no law, no, like, rule of order or whatever, would people, if people could get away with murder, theft, and, like, whatever, all the cardinal sins or whatever, would they do it? And the song basically just tells a tale of, like, a guy who, figures that, I can get away with whatever I want, and it's implied that, like, I don't think it's, I'm trying to think of the lyrics in my head. He doesn't kill a man, but, like, he sees a man that lies bleeding, but the lyrics are, I see a man, I can't even think of the lyrics right now. It's to the west, a man lies bleeding, but I pay him no mind. So it's, like, stuff like that, like, and, he, does all the, it says, atrocities flow from my hands like wine from a chalice. So he's doing all this, like, really bad stuff that, in a lawful society would be punishable, and he would be imprisoned or maybe even, like, put to death or whatever, but he figures I can get away with it, so he just does it, and then later on, his conscience just ends up sort of eating away at him and stuff like that. So it poses the question, is it worth it, having, like, a bad conscience or whatever, and, do we just do moral deeds, because we're afraid of, like, punishment, or, like, if you believe in God, like, damnation or something like that, or, are moral goods, intrinsically good? Like, is it good just doing it for the sake of doing moral good? So, which I tend to be of the opinion that do good regardless of, whether or not you get anything in return, or whether or not it has any, benefit to you or whatever.
So
just,
virtue ethics, perhaps.
Yeah, just do good. Do good to do good is basically, the opinion that I've always been of, but, we can debate that if you want.
So it's interesting that the music can raise a lot of questions for the listeners, and it doesn't seem like there's a prevailing, like, push toward a certain thing, but rather it's just raising the questions, and that's, I guess, what philosophy is supposed to all be about, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose so, but I suppose probably in some of the songs I do sort of, like, a certain opinion, but ultimately, I mean, if, the only way to spark discussion is to get an opinion out there. So, do you agree or do you disagree? Like, come at me, bro. It's like, if you disagree, come at me, bro. Write your own song.
Right. So another off the same album is the Promethean Ethic. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, that's more about, divine command theory, which is, like, do you do good, just to, like, get into heaven or whatever, basically. Or, is, well, I think it's been a while since philosophy class, but I'm pretty sure. So divine command theory is like an action is good, as long as, God or, like, whatever permits it, or says it's good.
Right.
But, you could obviously have, a God that is, tyrannical or, like, whatever, because if God does exist, we have no idea, like, what his true nature or whatever. So, traditional Christians have this idea that God is good, supremely good or whatever, but, there's no evidence to suggest, first of all, that even that God exists, but if he does exist, that he is supremely good or whatever. So if you have a God that is not supremely good and, maybe just, punishes people for, like, no reason or whatever, I mean, do you, follow God, or do you just do what you think, your own, like, internal, like, code of ethics says is right? So he uses the example of Prometheus, who stole, in the traditional Greek myth, stole fire from the gods, to, like, give to, like, mortals or whatever, I guess. So, what was it right, for the, I mean, I'm not, like, totally familiar, with, like, the intricacies of the myth or whatever, but is it right for, God, the gods to hoard this, very useful tool that could obviously help humans, or is it right for, humans to, take the tool back, which seems moral? I mean, it doesn't seem like that is, something that, a God would do. I mean, there are obviously more, extreme examples or whatever, like, there's, like, the problem of evil, like, why does God not prevent suffering and stuff like that, but, yeah, so.
Yeah, we were talking about the divine command theory and this idea that an action is justified because God declares it to be so, and that
Right.
faces what's called the Euthyphro dilemma from a dialogue that involves Socrates, written by Plato, where Socrates goes around, as he usually does, and poses questions to people, and in this case, the question is, what is justice? And Socrates finds a man who takes his father to court and charges his father. So Socrates approaches the man and says, well, since you're taking your father to court, you must know what morality is. You must know justice. And after some exchange, the man says, well, I know what is just because the gods declare what is just. And Socrates poses the question, updated for modern times, is an action good because the gods declare it to be good, or is an action good because the gods endorse that action? So if you take horn one, if you will, well, then it seems that morality is arbitrary because the god could demand stuff like raping of children, and we obviously can come up with really good reasons to why that's not moral.
Right.
So the second one would be, well, there has to be some kind of outside standard for morality.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So that is the basic idea of what the song is about. Yeah. I had forgotten about that dialogue actually, because like I said, it's been a while since philosophy class, folks. I've been graduated for like 3 years.
That's fine. To go into more, we often on this podcast talk about how we can arrive at knowledge, what constitutes justified beliefs, and Towards the Asymptote is one song on your album that seems to be quite relevant to the discussion of epistemology. So
Yeah.
you want to talk about that?
Okay. Yeah. So in mathematics, an asymptote is basically a line that is forever approached, infinitely approached by a series of points on a graph, but never actually reached. So you can infinitely, like on a graph, infinitely approach this line, and the degrees get smaller and smaller and smaller. It's like you travel halfway and then halfway again and halfway again, but you never actually reach the point that you're striving towards. So Towards the Asymptote takes that idea and sort of uses it to symbolize or to sort of liken it to knowledge acquisition. Because to me it seems like we could just we can infinitely approach ultimate knowledge with the faculties that we've been given, but we have no way of knowing whether or not the things that we think we know are actually true. So you can, like I said, use the faculties you've been given, like to approach an answer as best you can, but you can never know whether or not it's actually the answer. So it kind of seems like you could just, get closer and closer and closer, but you never, much like, on a mathematical graph, you will never actually reach that point of certainty.
Right.
So
we find that certainty is often a red herring, if you will, in the discussions because we're worried about what's mostly true, what we're justified in believing, not what actually knowledge is, and that's a topic that we've explored a lot. So you have that kind of metaphor in the song. So what are some of the lyrics from that?
Let's see. I can just do them all, I guess. So,
have a live show.
We have
5 minutes.
Take 5. No, so it's my brain waves crash into the walls of my mind where confusion crawls. Is that how it goes?
Yes.
My brain waves crash into the walls of my mind where confusion crawls. Harder they strike with each successive pass, but fail to cross the boundaries they attack. So it's like, you could think harder and harder and harder, and like, it's like they're sort of just, the thoughts are sort of just bouncing off the walls of your brain, and you could get so close and believe that you're so close, but you never have that certainty. As Descartes, and like Kant suggested, like Descartes obviously said that you can't know that like that your senses accurately convey information, and Kant had that idea of the noumenon, obviously, and I've always said that just because we might like understand things like better than like a dog or a cat understands the world, but that doesn't mean that we understand it absolutely, so. You just don't know. There's no evidence to suggest that human understanding, is ultimate understanding, or that, even like our faculties accurately, convey information, that our senses accurately convey information, or rather that our senses accurately convey information, or that our faculties accurately, translate that information into experiences we can understand. Because that's really all that they do, is translate them into experiences that we can understand, in our own relative ways, but that doesn't mean that we understand it absolutely.
And
so,
we could get into being a slave of the empirical, right?
That's true.
And we never discovered the absolute.
No, we never discovered the absolute, yeah.
So how about slave to the empirical?
Yeah, slave to the empirical is kind of about the same idea. I mean, I can't really expand, I think Towards the Asymptote expands on the idea in that song. So it might have helped if we talked about that song first, but I mean, yeah, it's just you can't really be a slave to. I mean, for the purpose of living life and being practical, trust your senses, yeah, absolutely. But ultimately, like, I think we should wonder whether or not this the senses are accurate. Media of information, and whether or not they are accurately showing us, what's around. And I think that you just can't be a slave to that. You have to be able to think, just be able to ask the question, and use, your faculty of reason too, which might also be flawed too. I mean, who knows? But
who does?
Well, it's what we, I guess we at some point would have to say we have to do something to get started. We can't spend forever getting started.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think I'm saying everyone's forced to do this. This is our best attempt at knowledge, and we could be happy with that. But it's always good, as Bertrand Russell said, to add a question mark on things we take for granted.
Right, yeah, I agree. I mean, like you said, you got to start somewhere. So, yeah.
So even if an architect made the senses, where would we go with that? So you want to talk about that song?
I like these segues.
Just
very, very good.
Yeah, it's working out good.
Fantastic job.
Yeah, so, you're referring to the song Architect, which is off of the Categories EP. And the Categories EP is just a 3-song EP that we did a couple years ago, and each of the songs deal with a different philosophical issue or category, which I got the idea for the name Categories from Aristotle's work, Categories. So, Architect is about something that I referenced briefly before, the problem of evil, which if you formalize the argument in logic, it is if God is all-powerful and all-good, he will prevent evil. God does not prevent evil, therefore God is not supremely good and all-powerful. And that is, a direct challenge to the belief in God, obviously, which is, if anybody's taken, like Intro to Philosophy in college, you've heard of this, but, so it's a pretty basic idea, but, it's just something interesting to explore, and the song sort of tells the story from the viewpoint of God, and, he's created this world and stuff, but then, he sees, like, famine and war and, like, racial, political and social strife and stuff like that. And, he's just sort of just appalled at it. And, like, he wonders, like, why that world is as it is. It doesn't really offer any sort of resolution as to why he doesn't prevent it. But it's sort of just sort of to, like, raise awareness of the problem. So.
It is a problem, indeed.
Oh, it's a problem.
So it's really just about God playing SimCity 4 or something?
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's what we talked about the simulation hypothesis in our past episodes. So what are some other songs that you think would be of interest to the reader, or perhaps something off the new album that you'd like to talk about?
I think we covered most of the really philosophically relevant ones. I'm trying to go back and think. There is Walls of Eternity from Breaching the Citadel, which is basically about the Christian hypothesis that if you do good, is do you end up in heaven or whatever? And it's I wrote the song when I was like 17, so I can't really say that I definitely feel the same way now, but it's basically that, like, about the theory that life is a test, and if, like, you do good in this life, you'll be rewarded in the next. I can't really think of anything else. Most of the songs early on in our career were just sort of about just, like, life and stuff like that. So, and then, of course, there's Tragedy Divine, which is about Romeo and Juliet.
So what are some upcoming shows that you're going to be having, or some past shows that you've had recently?
We have, do you guys want to get in, or?
Yeah, we're good.
No,
We're doing
you're
a good
Spokesperson's doing great.
You've been looking over?
Good job there, Chief.
We have, recently we played a show at the Crimson Lion Hookah Lounge downtown, which I like to sometimes erroneously say hookah lounge. But yeah, it was the Crimson Lion Hookah Lounge. It's a pretty chill place. I go there, every now and then just to go there. But they do have shows there, every few Sundays or whatever. And the crowd was pretty good, for the size of the place, and it was fun. We a band called The Way played with us. Sort of becoming friends with them. Good group of guys. April 21st, which is I think 2 Saturdays from now, we play at the Vintage Theater in Scranton. Details still to be announced on that one. And on May 12th, we play at Jimmy's Place in Allentown with a band called Supremia. and like 800 other bands, I think.
Oh, good. We get sell tickets. So if you're interested in buying a ticket,
yes, we have to sell them.
Sell.
So what can people look forward to at a live show if they haven't seen you live yet?
Awesomeness.
A lot of goofiness. You guys can come to that.
yeah, Ryan will forget his water, naturally.
I'll forget the beginning of a couple songs.
I won't play the right beginning of a couple songs.
It usually works out that way.
And I'll push Kenny over a couple times. Maybe, poke Klubeck in the butt with my bass head and try to throw him off while he's soloing. Just random stuff like that. I like the random acts of violence, so you got to keep it fresh and I don't know.
Yeah, Kenny couldn't be here today, by the way, for anyone who's listening. He's our other guitarist. Unfortunately, he had to work for the man, so he can't be here today. But yeah, pretty much what Nick said is pretty accurate. A lot of jokes. I might as well explain the dead hookers thing because we made a reference to that before. A couple of years ago, we were playing a show at Liam's Bar in Wilkes-Barre. And for no reason whatsoever, I don't know where I got this idea. I think it was from the movie Dirty Work, because there's a gag where there's a bunch of dead hookers in the trunks of cars.
That's actually what it was from.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's a dead hooker! I've never seen so many dead hookers! So, I also got the idea from South Park. Well, on their DVD commentary, Trey and Matt always say, at least in the early seasons, they're like, and this is our favorite episode of South Park, So... for every single episode. So every single song, I'm like, this song is about dead hookers. It's our favorite song. And one of our songs, Undue Creation, was actually based on a poem that I wrote for one of my poetry classes in college. And I was like, so this next song, it's a poem that I wrote for a class in college. It's about dead hookers. And, you just never expect it. But it was just every song, just after every song, and after a while, it's just Dave couldn't take it. He stopped playing in the middle of one song just because he was just laughing so hard. And the people just left in disgust.
Yeah, they were just pissed.
We were just disgusting people, just grossing them out. But hey, that's us, man. What can I tell you?
Well, it's nothing compared to war, right?
Yeah, we're not quite on that level, but...
You don't have prosthetic penises on stage.
No.
And the audience. No, we're not gonna get to that point. I hope.
So it seems like you could talk about Dave Mustaine and Rick Santorum, I guess, if you're from Gore. I don't know.
I don't know. I watched that. I listened to that thing that the Gore guy said about Dave
Odorous
Mustaine.
Ungerous.
Yeah, and I thought that was pretty funny. I got a good laugh out of that.
Wasn't it Rick Santorum hates metalheads or something?
Yeah, Rick Santorum hates heavy metal. So yeah.
Oh, I hadn't heard that. See, I don't really follow
I thought it was a
candidates,
fake article. I kept reading it and I'm like, nah, it's got to be fake. And I kept thinking about it more and more, and it could make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really follow, politics really, but from what I can tell, Santorum is just like a lot of Republicans. I'm not saying all, but like a lot of Republicans and conservatives. Just ass-backward thought process, has no business being in the White House and making major decisions. I just forget it.
And he doesn't like heavy metal.
Yeah, well, to each their own. I mean, that doesn't really help. I mean, he might get my vote if he, liked heavy metal, but no, I mean, I've seen some of the stuff that he supposedly said. I don't know if it's true, but if it is, it's pretty ridiculous. Yeah.
I don't think Man of War is going to have him on stage anytime soon, right?
Yeah, probably not.
But a lot of other music that I listen to, and presumably you all do too, in metal, often touches on a lot of philosophical themes, questions like that. So why do you think that is? Maybe from your perspective, how has that been a theme in your music?
I mean, why do I think that a lot of heavy metal people gravitate towards that? I don't know. Maybe it's because heavy metal music just in general is sort of in the minority. It's not the mainstream or whatever. And I sort of think that a lot of people that talk about philosophy are not really in the mainstream either. I think both aspects of that of an individual who embraces those things or whatever sort of points to thinking outside the box. So I don't know, maybe that has something to do with it. And I don't know, I mean, it's just, to me, it's always just been a great way to combine my two passions, philosophy and heavy metal.
Right.
So, and I mean, I guess the music sort of reflects it, we're a little pissed off, that, for one thing, people don't really, think about stuff like this, and also just the fact that there are no answers, that kind of, angers us and stuff. But in any case, we're going to ask the questions, and try to answer them as best we can. So, yeah.
I guess it's more for I don't know. I'm very deep when it comes to my music, especially with metal. Metal really touches me, emotionally with a lot of things. I can relate it to so many, it's general stuff that's going on in my life now. And I don't know, I guess a lot of metalheads that I met, they're very deep people, maybe a little more emotional, but that's kind of just where the group kind of follows. All our music and everything that we talk about is deep. What we play and what we sound is very deep, so that's kind of where I go with it. I'm just deep with music.
Yeah.
I just listen to it for the hooks. That's really all.
Well, I guess it could be the most, because what I hear, it's odd. I chat with people who listen to, for lack of a better term, popular radio, and they say, well, I like the beat, but I'm sure...
They're all the same.
That's the same term that I hear all the time from a lot of people. It's yeah, I like the beat of this song.
There's nothing special about
no,
this.
there's not.
If metal sounds like video game music, it doesn't matter to me because I listen to video game music. So.
I will blast the soundtrack to Castlevania Symphony of the Night any day
Mega Man,
over that bubblegum crap.
Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, that's not really fair for me to say though. I honestly, if something has a good beat and a good hook, I'm not going to shut it off. I listen to what I like. I like Lady Gaga. I like Kesha, as hard as that is to admit.
You dirty.
I like some of Kesha's songs. Lady Gaga, though, I think I respect a lot more than Kesha. But, I like that stuff. I grew up listening to hip-hop. I love that stuff, too. Large part of the reason I listen to hip-hop is, for, really good beats and stuff like that. But also, there's some... rappers out there that just lyrically are just off the charts. One guy who I've listened to a lot lately is Master Ace, who's from the late '80s classic golden era, but his lyricism is just fantastic. And then you have the esoteric guys like Wu-Tang that do all the 5% Nation stuff, and Chuck D from Public Enemy and stuff like that. There's a lot of very intelligent rap out there, and I think, a lot of people do have, stuff to say, important things to say, beyond the musical backdrop, and that just sort of enhances it and just makes it more engaging for the listener and stuff like that. And, that's kind of how our music is too. We have a lot of stuff to say, so.
So even in the secular community, at least on my Facebook profile, I see a lot of people liking, no pun intended, the music that I listen to, but a lot of people out there really haven't been exposed to metal, or they have some kind of, well, I just don't like it because I can't understand the words or whatever. So, what would you have to say to those people who are new to it?
Most CDs come with a booklet. Get the booklet. I don't know. I guess, a lot of people don't really want to put forth the effort, if they can, because, let's face it, our, people in the world, their attention span's really short, so... there's not really that much you can do about that, but to a person maybe whose attention span is not so short, or maybe is interested in sort of, exploring things, outside their comfort zone, I would say, give it a shot. It's there's a lot of really talented musicians. They have a lot of really interesting things to say, so yeah, just give it a shot.
It's not all Cannibal Corpse people. Come on.
No, a lot of people don't listen, I guess listen well enough or listen hard enough to actually pick out some of the good stuff in the music. We have a lot of melodic stuff that goes on with ours, and it sounds completely different than a lot of, I guess I should say junk that I've heard out there before. Everybody's got their own opinions, but I guess if you actually sit down, take the time out and filter through, you usually find something pretty decent. So
we have a live audience today, so do we have any questions from our live audience? All right, Rodney?
Yeah, you seem to be a deep thinker as well as a writer. When you're writing your lyrics and you're running them past the other members of the band, do you ever have any issues where they don't agree with you as far as what you're writing down, or
you run them past us?
Wait, usually it's okay. Here's the song. Play it. Learn it. Okay.
If I ever had a suspicion that they wouldn't agree with some of the lyrics, I most certainly would. But historically, they never have, so there's not really any need to even do that.
No, we usually find all the subliminals after we record CDs.
Yeah. Plus,
although the backmasking.
Yep.
Plus, I think we respect each other's individual opinions enough to not really have a problem with it. Regardless. As long as we're not saying it's not super duper hate speech or something like that, which like, wouldn't be a problem, with us. But
We pretty much trust Ryan to not say stupid things or write every song about a girl or wanting his baby back.
Ryan does an excellent job at writing.
Yeah.
So we're pretty confident.
I'm more
with him.
poetic than, myself. I can't speak for Matt, but...
All right, so for people who want to find your content, where should they go?
For now, you could just check us out on Facebook and Reverb Nation. It's just facebook.com/Ethereal Collapse. That's ETHEREALCOLLAPSE. You'd be surprised. I mean, I sent our songs into this online radio station or whatever, and they played a couple of them.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And like, they post, like, they do a show on Wednesday night, and they post status updates saying, like, what they're currently spinning. And it's, like, Insights and True by Ethereal Collapse. Like, come on, like, I sent you the songs via email. The band name was written out. You could have done a copy-paste. Like, Jesus, like, it's not that hard. I know it's not a word you read every day, but come on. I mean, just, come on.
When somebody asks you, your band's name, how many times do you have to say it to them before they're like, you couldn't pick something simpler?
I usually have to say it at least twice.
Yeah.
Sometimes 3 times.
So a lot of non-D&D players out there, because every D&D player would know what ethereal.
An ethereal sword. Yeah.
Have anything else you'd like to add or discuss?
Yeah, we are, for now, like I said, for now you could go to Facebook and Reverb Nation. That's facebook.com/Ethereal Collapse, reverbnation.com/Ethereal Collapse, to hear a couple of, tunes from the new album. But we are working on getting distribution, digital online distribution, and also physical online distribution. We plan on signing up with cdbaby.com. That's cdbaby.com. One more time.
Good plug.
Yeah.
That's CDBABY.
Yeah, for all you who, well done. But yeah, we just have a couple of logistics to sort out with that, but, we hope that, relatively soon you could get our music on there, and they also put it in, like, iTunes and Amazon.com digital music stores, and plus you could buy physical copies there. For now, if you want a CD, just get in touch with us. We'll be happy to hook you up. The CDs are $10. But hopefully, pretty soon we'll have an easier way to get them to you, online distribution or whatever. So.
One thing that's pretty interesting is that some of your songs were featured on Rock Band, so you want to talk about that?
Oh, yeah.
That little thing.
Yeah. No, that was pretty cool. I guess a while ago, there's like an independent charting company who, I guess like asked for like, songs that, you wanted to see, on the Rock Band network or whatever you wanted to see charted for the game. I guess somebody suggested, somebody mentioned our name, and then our drummer at the time, Chris, got in touch with them, and we worked out a deal to get our songs from categories on the Rock Band network. And it's pretty cool. I mean, like, I think just having them up there is enough. And if, I was saying before, if you go on YouTube and, type some of the song titles, and you can actually see people, the videos of people playing them on the game, and, they're killing them, like they're getting like perfects and stuff like that. It's really awesome to see, your song up there, and to see kind words from people say like, yeah, this is a really fun song, really great tune and stuff like that. And it's just, any kind of praise is always, welcome. It's just very, very nice when somebody has a nice thing to say about something that you've, created or whatever. Oh yeah, so the night, it would be enough just seeing the songs up there and seeing people enjoy them, but we actually make money off of it too, which is, and a little bit more than I thought. I mean, we're not like rich or anything, far from rich from it, but I mean,
not quitting our jobs yet.
Far from rich, but I mean, we did get a little bit, and it helped pay off, our studio bill, for the new album and stuff. So, it's pretty cool, to not only for people to like what you do, but to actually see some monetary gain from it, I guess.
No, I just can't get over run a video game. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is pretty awesome.
So you get to actually have video game music.
I'm sitting there watching it, and it's just like, damn, is that what I really play? Look at this guy killing it.
Yeah, I feel quite honored, actually. It's a privilege, an honor and a privilege, I think.
So do you plan to add any other instruments to your music in the future, or are you just going to keep with what you have now?
I mean, probably just keep with what we have now, but I mean, who knows what the future will bring. We tossed around the idea of adding a keyboard player a bunch of times.
Jesus, we've been on that one for quite a few years.
Yeah. But I was always just like, well, how many metal keyboardists in this area do you really know? And it's like one or two. It's like, all right, well, what if they, quit and then we're without a keyboard player, and it's like, so. Plus, I think having fewer instruments actually really, really forces you to really expand the musical landscape. I actually did that with our song Promethean, I think, which we were talking about before. This is actually a lesson that I learned from Isan from Emperor. He had a column in Guitar World where he said, visualize the guitar as an orchestra. So in order to create a backing keyboard effect, I turned this one part in Promethean, I think, into full bar chords, and it almost sounded like black metal keyboards in the background. So that's one instance of it really forced me to really think, really push the boundaries and stuff like that. And when you have less to work with, it forces you to think harder and work harder, I think. So in a way, it actually kind of works to our advantage.
All right. And you've listened to an episode of the NEPA Freethought Society, our podcast. Our podcast is available for free on the iTunes Store and through an RSS feed on our website. Listen to past episodes on iTunes or our website at nepafreethought.org. Support the podcast and the NEPA Freethought Society by clicking the donate button at the top of our website, sharing our podcast with friends, following us on Twitter at NEPA Podcast, and liking our Facebook page. Today's guests were members from the band Ethereal Collapse. That's Ethereal Collapse. Find them on YouTube, Reverb Nation, and soon to be CD Baby. And thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.
Peace out.
Hi, this is Ryan.
This is Nick.
This is Matt from Ethereal Collapse.
And you're watching... God damn it.
We're watching?
You're watching it.
God damn it,
Try it again.
All right. Hi, this is Ryan.
This is Nick.
And this is Matt from Ethereal Collapse.
And you're listening to the NEPA Freethought Society Podcast.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah.
It sounded cluttered.
Try one more time. Jeez, you got it. All right. Hi, this is Ryan.
This is Nick.
And this is Matt from Ethereal Collapse.
And you're listening to the NEPA Freethought Society Podcast.